This is Things Police See, first-hand accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, Old Ginger Face, Old Ginger Cakes, here with you as always. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody who's found the show. Thank you for the crossovers from the Sergeant Steve YouTube channel. I love to see you guys comment and interact and enjoy the podcast. It's so cool that the two channels are kind of, you guys are finding both of them through each little venture I have. So welcome and thank you for being here. Today's episode I'm very excited for. So it's one of those times that we talk about something in a podcast episode and then I get messages about it and say, yes, please do that. So I said, you give the people what they want. They want it. Here it is. This is a return guest. He's going to tell his whole story, his whole experience responding to the Boston bombing as a SWAT officer for the regional NEMLEC SWAT team. You guys know him from last time. He's a retired sergeant from Waltham Police Department. Who I'm talking about is a great Jim Vaglica. Jim!
Hey, what's up, Steve? You hear me?
I got you, man. Yeah, you look concerned there. Were you screwing with your settings?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you heard the intro. Everybody does. This is fascinating to people to hear someone's response to this. So if you don't mind, just start with like what you were doing that day, how the call came in, explain the team you're on, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so brief intro. My name is Jim Vaglica. I'm a retired Waltham police sergeant. So that's Waltham, Massachusetts. It's a city suburb right outside of Boston, and I was part of a regional SWAT team. So we covered over 50 cities and towns northeast of Boston, okay? And we would assist Boston when they had something big. We went into Boston dozens and dozens of times. So anyway, all right, so let's go back to Marathon Monday. All right, let's start there. I'm working a 3 to 11 shift as a street patrol sergeant. And I like to, it's Marathon Monday, so I'm figuring it's probably going to be a busy shift. Let me get something to eat quick. That way I can get that over with. So I'm in one of my favorite sub shops. I walk in, the TV's on, and I go, "What's happening?" And so the clerk says, "Hey, 2 bombs went off at the finish line of the marathon. They think it's a gas leak." And I said, 2 bombs at the finish line, that's terrorism.
Yeah.
So, 15, 20 minutes later, my phone's going off. SWAT respond to Boston for mutual aid. So I head into Boston and I meet up with my team. It's chaos. They don't know, obviously they don't know who did it. They don't know what else is coming. So they split my team into 2, and we're 2 quick reaction teams. So they put us in 2 different spots, strategically in the city, and we just wait for anything else to happen. So then they decided that we were going to stay in Boston, and we were going to do 12-hour shifts. So we'd split the team in half, and we'd do 12-hour shifts in Boston. So it was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then we decide, which shift, you want to work. I take the night shift. Anyway, so during that week, they also, they used us at what they decided were high value targets. one night we were at the Big Apple Circus. The Big Apple Circus travels around, and they just happened to be in Boston at the time. So my team was providing security for that. And I can't remember what else, what other venues that we were working on. But anyway, fast forward to Thursday, and me and my wife had plans that weekend. We were invited to a wedding in New Jersey. So the plan was to head for New Jersey Friday morning, and then we were going to go to the rehearsal dinner. And then my wife is a makeup artist, so she was doing the makeup for all the girls in the wedding. But the wedding was Saturday morning at 11 a.m. So anyway, on Thursday, I contacted my team leader. Nothing had happened all week. And we were thinking, all right, so, maybe these guys, maybe they're not even in the country anymore.
Right.
So I went to my team leader and I said, this is the situation. I got a hotel room booked. I got my wife's working this wedding. What do you think? You think I can, skip Thursday night shift? And he says, yeah, okay. So I go to bed Thursday night, probably about 11:30, and then my phone's going off. I'll never forget, it was 1:22 a.m. and it just said, SWAT respond to Watertown for officer-involved shooting. So generally I would just gear up and go, but Watertown it borders my city. It borders Waltham. I knew that the guys in Waltham would know what's going on. So I call the station. I get the lieutenant. Hey, Lou, I just got called out to Watertown. What's going on? And he says, the bombers are in Watertown. They killed a cop. There's a chase. There's a shootout. They're throwing bombs at the cops. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
I so remember that. That was nuts.
And I said, all right, Lou, I'm heading for Watertown. He's like, be careful, man. So, and then he goes, turn on the TV. It's on every station. So my wife says, what's going on? And I go, the bombers are in Watertown. I got to go. And then like a dope, I said, turn on the TV. So she turns on the TV and she's watching it live. And
freaked out.
And then they're talking about the cop getting killed. So now she knows I'm going there, right? Like she needed any more of a headache.
Right.
So anyway, I'm driving to Watertown. I'm doing about 100 miles an hour. And when I get there, it's just chaos. There's law enforcement everywhere. And they have us setting up pretty close to where the shootout occurred. And we're just getting information about what happened. So you have to understand that when the bombs went off, the feds came in, right? So it's ATF, it's FBI, and then it's all these bomb techs from all over the East Coast. They're coming in to do the investigation. So they all go to Watertown, and there's like thousands of law enforcement there. And
you guys got to all be on different frequencies, all that, right?
Oh yeah. So now they're trying to set up a command post, and they're arguing about who's in charge and who's going to do what. So anyway, so they tell my team, um, the one of the bombers is on the way to the hospital. He's probably dead, and he might have a suicide vest on. And the other suspect is on the loose. He might have a suicide vest. And they're saying he's got a firearm. It might be a handgun. It might be a long arm. And he might have more bombs. And so we need you guys to start searching this neighborhood. And also be advised that there are unexploded IEDs all over the place.
Well, Jim, what were they? Were they like pipe bombs, or what? How were they made of? Pressure cookers again, or what were the IEDs?
There was the one pressure cooker that they set off during this gun battle with Watertown PD, and the others were like pipe bombs.
Okay.
Small. And apparently they didn't really know how to make them too well because they weren't going off. They were lighting the fuses and throwing them, but not all of them were exploding.
Great.
So an unexploded IED is not something you want to mess with.
Right.
So anyway, we're in full gear, we're in full alert, and we start searching. And then after they set up the command post and kind of coordinate things, they make a grid. So if you're looking at a map, it's 20 blocks square, which Watertown's a small city. I think it's like 3 square miles. So we're searching almost the entire city. So at first, it's just my team. And then they realize this is too much because we're knocking on doors, right? And there was a lot of confusion about this, were we forcing our way into people's houses? That's not true.
Violating the Fourth Amendment and all that.
Yes. So, and there was a shelter in place. So Watertown put out a reverse 911 saying, this is a dangerous situation. You need to stay in your house. Don't answer the door for anyone except law enforcement. So anyway, we're knocking on people's doors, and hopefully someone answers. And then we say the situation, and we say, do you want us to search your house? You want us to search part of your house, whatever you want. So a lot of times they would say, will you search the basement? That's the only place that, we haven't been. And,
right.
And we have an outside entrance to the basement. So we were doing a lot of basement searches, and you have to understand that these are slow searches, right? You're not just walking through like you would, you're looking for someone armed who is probably going to shoot you on sight.
Yeah, it might have a suicide vest on.
Yes. So we're moving as fast as we can, but it's not that fast. And then in the meantime, they're calling in other teams. So other teams are arriving throughout the night, and they're getting their assigned areas. And then people are calling, hey, I hear noise in my backyard. For anything, they're all spooked, right? So everyone's running around to different places because we're getting calls. And then the sun comes up, we're still searching. Now it gets to around noontime, and someone at the command post said, hey, this team's been searching from 2 a.m. to noon in full gear. They're not really combat ready at this point. Have them stand down. We're going to get them some water, some food, and give them a break.
Right.
So we were just in some guy's driveway, and everyone just took their helmets off. We took our heavy vests off and just put them in the driveway and laid down.
Oh, man. Just gassed.
Yeah, I have two photos. I took two photos the whole time I was there. And it was like, I don't know if I passed out or what, but I just remember opening my eyes and seeing my entire team just unconscious in some guy's driveway. So I took two photos of them. Anyway, at that point, there was a call that came in. A woman called saying that she's being held hostage in her house. And so we gear up again and we go. And it didn't take too long to figure out the woman was just nuts. There was nobody
one of those.
there. Yeah, nobody there. So anyway, we continue the search. And now at about 6 p.m., we finished the entire grid. We finished, between us and the other teams, we finished the 20-block square. And I mean, we searched everywhere. If there was a building with a flat roof, we were getting ladders and going up onto the roof. We were searching trash cans. We were searching anywhere that a body could be. So now we finished the search and everyone's told, come back to the command post for further instructions. Everyone goes back there. Now, they lift the shelter in place for Watertown. The 911 reverse goes out. Now everyone starts milling around. So this one dude, he's got a boat on a trailer in his driveway. Small boat. And he's checking it out and he notices that it's ripped. Like he's got one of those covers, one of those shrink wrap white covers that he's got for the winter. So he notices it's ripped. He grabs a step stool or something. He goes up, he looks in the hole, there's blood. And he sees like a leg or something, right? So he jumps down, goes back, 911. Now, Watertown 911 made the mistake of putting that out over the air. And that caused every person with a badge and a gun and a vehicle converged on this boat. This is a small, tight neighborhood. So now we get in our armored vehicle and we head down there, and we can't even get near it. We're like a half mile from this boat now. We got to unass our armored vehicle and leave it there and run all the way down to where the boat is. So as we're running, I can hear gunshots, like hundreds of gunshots. And by the time we get there, I hear someone on a PA yelling, "Ceasefire, ceasefire." And so like they slowly stop and we get there at the same time. And then I hear the same guy on a PA saying, uniforms out, tactical in. And that sticks in my mind because I've never heard anybody say that. So now all the uniforms are pulling out and we're taking over the inner perimeter. So basically surrounding this boat, we're no more than 30 feet around this boat. So come to find out, when the uniforms got to the boat, someone either saw something or heard something, but he yelled gun and someone took a shot and then everyone started shooting at this boat, like hundreds of rounds, right?
That's crazy. That's it. Watertown was like that, wasn't it, Jim? I remember Watertown, the amount of bullets the police fired was ton.
Yeah. Hundreds. Guys were running dry. Guys were going through 3 mags.
That's when they were
and
chasing
they
the older brother,
had nothing
right?
left. Yeah, that's during the shootout. This shootout actually went on for minutes. Like, a shootout never lasts more than a few seconds, but this thing went on for minutes and minutes, in enough time so that other departments could get to the scene. So there were troopers there. There was transit PD was there. Cambridge. I don't know how many cities were able to get there and actually were still in this gunfight.
He got run over, right? The older one?
Yes. The younger brother ran over the older brother.
That's right.
Trying to run over the cops that were fighting with him. But he had 7 rounds in him by that point. He was a fighter, man. I hate to give him any credit, but he was a fighter.
I heard he was into like mixed martial arts, and
He was.
I
yeah.
got a picture of his dead body right after it happened, because this was a while ago, and I had a friend who was friends with SWAT guys up there, and within an hour I was being shown a picture of his dead body. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't think you should have that.
Yeah, I remember that going around pretty fast. Anyway, so we're surrounding the boat. FBI has control, right? They had control over the bombing, and now they want control over this barricade. It's basically a barricaded situation, and they get a negotiator up in a second floor window looking down at the boat, and he's got his own PA system. So he's trying to talk to whoever's in the boat. Keep in mind, we didn't know. Well, we had an idea, but anyway, let me get back to this. He's trying to communicate with him, and he's not talking. So the FBI starts firing flashbangs into the boat. So they've got projectile flashbangs. And then they put pepper gas in the boat. Again, projectile pepper gas. And this is a small boat completely covered. So it's basically like being in a car with all the windows closed, filled with pepper gas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how you'd survive that, because that's all he's breathing. Anyway, he starts to talk, and that's what they want. But he's tough to understand, because I guess he had a throat injury, plus he's breathing all that pepper gas. So I imagine his throat's not in good shape, but he's making sounds. He's asking for water, and they're trying to get him out. But the standing order is no one approach the boat, because we believe he's still got he's got a bomb, and he's just going to suck us in and blow us all up. It's going to be a suicide bombing.
Right.
Any questions or anything before I move on?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, as you're talking, all the training you do in SWAT and responding to emergency situations like this, was this similar at all to anything you've trained for, or was this kind of just like, I mean, I don't know how you would even train for this on SWAT, but was this similar to anything, or were you guys kind of learning as you go?
No, this is what we call an armed barricade. So you generally,
I just mean the whole thing, the whole situation, like the bombing, the whole response.
It's nothing that I've ever done. I mean, this is a really unique situation, It
just must be frustrating for operators, because you guys train so much for all the like you said, barricades and all that. And then you have something like this where you have these teams all converge, and there's really never been a training on this. So it just must have been frustrating for you guys, because you're high speed operators. You want to get the plan and go, but you're showing up with all these agencies, and all. It must have been nuts.
Yes. Yeah. it was chaos. It was a cluster. And there were arguments. And
I bet.
Did you watch Patriots Day, by the way?
I still haven't watched
You
it.
still haven't got to that.
I got 3 small kids that can't watch a movie like that. So like whenever we have the TV on, it's not going to be Patriots Day.
All right. So
gotta watch my cruiser.
He's okay. So he's in the boat now. After like a couple of hours, they get him to start to come out of the boat. So he's just straddling. He's got one leg in, one leg out, one hand in, one hand out.
Right.
And you've probably seen the photos of him, up there. He's bleeding, and he's like totally lethargic. But again, we don't know what condition he's in, if he's faking or what. So nobody approached the boat is the standing order. He's going to get himself out of the boat is what the FBI negotiator's trying to do. And before this happened, they used an armored vehicle with an extended arm to go in there and like rip open the top so they could see inside. So now I'm watching the boat, and it's in a driveway, and to my right, I see these 4 or 5 operators moving toward the boat, slowly moving toward the boat, right? And I'm thinking, who are these guys? And why are they doing this? So then the negotiator notices them, and he says, that team moving toward the boat, stand down. This is the FBI. We have control of this situation. Do not approach that boat. And they kind of just like stumbled, and I guarantee one of them just said, fuck him. And they moved forward. And then one of them jumped up and grabbed this kid by the wrist and just pulled him out. And then they just pig-piled him.
Ballsy.
And cuffed him. And then everyone just moved in like a bunch of dopes. One guy even jumped in the boat, said he was looking for a bomb. And so then they put this kid on a stretcher and put him in an ambulance and got rid of him. And then we were told, all right, you guys, good job. You're all set. Go back to the command post. And of course, we couldn't get out of there until everyone else, got out of the way. But I'll never forget, on the way back to the command post, like we were riding on our armored vehicle. Like everyone can't fit inside. So it's set up so that we can ride on the outside. And all the neighbors had come out of the house because they heard that this bomber was captured. The second bomber was captured.
Oh yeah, they must have.
So they all came out of the house and they're all cheering. They're all out on the street, and they're trying. They're cheering for every law enforcement that went by, and they're trying to high five. As we're driving by, they're trying to high five us and stuff. That was pretty cool. That was special. So, yeah, that was the end of that event for me and my team.
What was, after a huge thing like that, I imagine there's a debrief or several debriefs. Did you debrief with just your team and then with a lot more people? And what was that like?
So we generally debrief right after the situation, but we had been up now some of us have been up for, like, depending on what shift you were working, been up for over a day and a half, right? Like most of us had been up for at least 24 hours. So my team leader decided we're not going to do the debrief now. You guys just go home and get some rest.
Yeah, I'm sure you're all junk.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what happened to me. So I call my wife. Now it's 10 o'clock. I call my wife. I say, hey, it's over. We got him. I'm coming home. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I go, I'm going to take a shower, and we're driving to New Jersey. We're going to the wedding.
God bless you.
I drove 5 hours in the rain, got to the hotel about 4 a.m. We crashed, got up, and we were at the wedding at 11 o'clock a.m. And then we had a blast at the wedding. We went to the after party. We went to the after party. And I just had like the best day. It was such a relief. I just really needed to have fun. And it was great. It was
kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Because your your adrenal glands must have been exhausted after that. I mean, you're just pumping all day long. Yeah. No sleep, no food, not enough hydration. What was,
yeah, man.
What was any takeaways that were learned from the SWAT teams, or was there anything that came out of it, new trainings or new tactics learned for dealing with a massive situation like this?
One mistake was when the second bomber took off, there should have been a perimeter set up, an outer perimeter to contain him. And that didn't happen until at least an hour later, probably closer to 2 hours later. I mean, you need a lot of manpower to set up a large perimeter, but they didn't even attempt it, as far as I know. There was a whole after action report written on this and suggestions on how to do things better. Communications are always a problem.
Right. Remember after 9/11, they were like trying to get everybody in the country to do plain talk, but everybody like just kept their codes. Do you remember that push after 9/11? They're like, because all the agencies, they're like all these different codes and different sheriff's departments and city police. They're like, you should really just use plain talk. And I remember people doing it for a little while, then everybody went back to their codes.
My department isn't really big on codes, like the 10 code.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, definitely part of that after action report was not using codes. Like, don't use codes that not every department involved is going to understand.
Right. Yeah, I noticed, I've worked at a few different police departments in Massachusetts now. I noticed that there's like these old codes that I think came down from the state that the two places I've worked for use some variation of. So like, I don't know if these are familiar to you, like 01 is on duty, 02 is off duty, 7 is your house, 04 is on scene, 05 is off scene, also used for on duty and off duty. Like I'm way out in Western Mass now, and when I was on the Cape, these two old set of codes were similar, but moved around, kind of bastardized by each place, but it's the same backbone. Did you guys have that in Waltham at all?
No, I never heard those codes.
Really?
I'd have no idea what you're talking about. The only one that sounds familiar. So we use the term code 7. We used it to eat. I'll be on a code 7, or can I take my code 7? That's the only one. And then we have, am I clear to line up? Clear to line up means you're going to be not available unless they need you. So if you're going to write a report at the station, we would say, can I ask the dispatcher, am I clear to line up? That's about as codey as we would get in Waltham.
You know what? I know what it is, because I've only worked at smaller towns. I bet the smaller towns took the state police code, and the cities have their own
Yeah.
way to do things. I bet that's what it is. Can you,
Could
before I let you go, awesome story. Thank you for laying it out for us. NEMLEC, a regional SWAT team. You said before we started recording, you said it's up to like 60 communities now, which is insane. What is then versus now? Maybe like when you joined, what was it like? Did they put you through the SWAT course, obstacle course, and all that stuff? And has it changed at all today?
So when I joined, it was 1997 when I got on the team, and I think there were about 35 departments at the time. And there's always been about 30 operators on the team. But still, you've got hundreds of cops to choose from. So they set the bar really high as far as standards to get on the team. And they came up with a tryout that is really, really tough. Even if you prepare for it and you're a great athlete and a great shot, we've got like a 60% failure rate.
Whoa.
Usually what happens is like we'd have a tryout like every year, and like 15 guys would sign up for the tryout, and then 10 would show up, and maybe 4 would make it throughout the day. They'd make it to the end of the day.
Yeah.
And pass everything.
That's pretty intense. 60% dropout. That's good. That's what you want, though. That's what I want as a taxpayer. I want those standards for my SWAT guys, you know?
Yeah. One of the guys that I tried out with, he actually passed, and then he went straight to the hospital, and he spent 2 days in the hospital, 2 nights in the hospital, because of the lactic acid buildup, just completely screwed with his system.
He was sore.
Yeah.
A little sore. Hey, when you were there, did you ever run into the Cape Cod SWAT team?
You know, I had heard that they were in Watertown. And I'm sure we passed them somewhere along the way.
Oh, you guys all dress similar anyways.
Yeah. We do dress very similar, but everyone's got their team name somewhere, patch or on their back.
Right.
And we were also, there are SWAT competitions. So I loved getting involved in those, and we would see the other teams when we would go to these competitions also.
Okay. Yeah. I remember them mentioning that. A buddy of mine I used to work with on the Cape he was on Cape Cod SWAT, and he went up to Boston. He was on the team. I think he even got a picture in Time magazine or something. They just were snapping pictures of you guys walking around. But he said, I think we touched on this in the first interview, but he said it was, when you're a Cape Cod kid and you go up to Boston, you're used to a certain, here we go, going off Cape, traffic, it's going to suck. Make sure you time it right. Well, here they come in their Bearcat, and it's empty street. I mean, they got there in like an hour and 20 minutes. It was just like, he said it was the eeriest feeling having everybody just was like, we're going to our houses. They just all obeyed and took off. Just not a person on the street, zipping through Boston.
Yeah, they would come out onto their porch, and we'd have to tell them to go back in the house, and then they just like start hanging out windows because they wanted to see what was going on. Right, this is big doing in their city.
Oh yeah,
in their neighborhood. So. You had mentioned the older brother being a boxer or an
some
MMA
kind of
fighter.
Yeah,
he was a very good boxer, and I guess he won Golden Gloves 2 years in a row as a heavyweight. It wasn't that big, but he was in the heavyweight category. And his dream was to be on the U.S. Olympic boxing team. Okay. And they told him he could not because he was not a citizen.
Right. He's like Chechen
And
or something.
he could not become a citizen because he had an assault and battery on his record. He smacked his girlfriend around. And I think she became his wife after that. But I think I told you this the last time. He was a rat for the FBI.
Yeah.
He was working for the FBI. And his whole family was living in Cambridge, Mass on taxpayer dime. None of them worked. They were on welfare and whatever else. So he didn't have a job as far as anybody knows, but he drove a BMW, and he was flying in and out of Logan without a U.S. passport, and he was on the no-fly list. I don't know if you remember, like Janet Reno had to answer as to how this guy was going in and out of the country,
right,
on a no-fly list. And it was the FBI that was making it happen. So the Russian, basically FBI contacted our FBI and said, "Hey, you should watch this guy. He's been meeting with terrorists, and he's living in Cambridge, Mass." So the FBI went out and interviewed him, and they decided that he was not a threat. Okay. But what really happened, in my opinion, is that they saw him as an asset. Here's this young Muslim kid who has ties with terrorists.
Right.
And has ties with local mosques. Why not use him for information?
Dicey
which is
endeavor.
Fine, which is fine, except that the FBI always tends to lose control of these assets, and they're out killing people, like Whitey Bulger, right?
Right.
So I believe the FBI knew who the bombers were at the very latest when they came up with the white hat, black hat photos, right? I guarantee they knew, oh, this is one of our guys, right? But what are they going to say? Are they going to say, "Hey, he's working for us. He just blew up the city, and he was working for us"? No, they're not going to admit to that.
Yeah, put some distance between us.
That's why the FBI was watching his apartment in Cambridge, and they're so good at covert surveillance that the neighbors are calling, saying, "Hey, why are there feds out here in my parking lot?"
Good job, boys.
So Cambridge PD responds and goes up to the car. "Hey, what are you doing here?" And this guy goes, "Hey, I'm the FBI. Get lost. This is FBI business." And so the Cambridge cops like, what are you talking about? Why are you here?" And the agent says, "I don't have to tell you anything." And so there was this pissing match going on between Cambridge PD and the FBI. And then I don't know if they just drove away or I believe they just drove away. The FBI did, without answering any questions. And then after all this, right, months later, when the FBI is called to Congress to answer, what's going on? What did you guys do? Why were you watching the Tsarnaev's apartment?
I remember that.
Prior to capturing them, prior to knowing who they were, right? Why were you watching their apartment? And their official answer was, we were on another case.
Sure.
So that's just like a slap in the face, right? Like who is going to believe that? But that's the FBI, man. They just do what they want and say what they want, and they get away with it.
Yeah, that is dicey business. That's like having a lion by the tail. A kid like that, he's going to work for you, listen to you. Good luck, man. The guy a buddy of mine I go to church with used to roll with him.
Oh, really?
Because he used to dabble. He was a boxer, but he used to dabble in like jujitsu, and he liked fighting. And he said, he said he's creeped out by it now. He goes, because he wasn't really a jerk. He said he was a pretty serious guy, like pretty intense guy. But he used to do jujitsu class with him. It's just, you never know.
At the shootout in Watertown, this one sergeant, Jeff Pugiles, put 7 rounds in the older brother, and he basically didn't even flinch. Adrenaline's a pretty strong drug. But then I spoke to another one of the Watertown guys, heroes in my eye, Sergeant John McClellan. And both those sergeants are both represented in the movie Patriots Day. They use their names, and they appear at the very end when they show the actual people involved. But I had the opportunity to corner John one night and asked him about the whole thing. And he said, I fired every round I had, which is almost 50 rounds, right? I dare you to name a cop who fired every single round he had in a gunfight.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He said that he got to the point where his gun just went to lockback and he had no more mags. So he just tackled this older brother with a couple of other cops. And he said he was fighting so hard that all I could think of was just take my gun and start smashing him in the face with it. And the kid would not stop fighting. Wow. Even after he got run over, he was still fighting. He was fighting in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. So the kid had no quit in him.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, he was probably on his way out, still fighting, dying actively and fighting.
Yeah. And then I asked John, I said, so after the gunfight, then what happened? What did you do? And so he said, my cruiser was within the search area of the IEDs, so they wouldn't let me near it. My cell phone was in my cruiser. All I could think of was I need to get home and tell my wife that I'm okay, because there was a report that a Watertown cop was killed. And it was actually a guy on the transit police department. So in Boston, we have another department called transit police. They handle the trains and buses and any public transportation.
MBTA.
So, yeah. So there was a transit cop named Dick Donahue. And during the gunfight in Watertown, he took a round to the femoral artery. And that's generally fatal because the femoral artery is the size of your thumb, and it just pumps all the blood out of your body in about 2 minutes.
Right.
They threw Dick Donahue in an ambulance and drove him as fast as they could to the nearest hospital. And he actually died twice on the table, and they brought him back. But the news was reporting that he died. And then news was reporting there was a Watertown cop. So John McClellan is like frantic. He needs to tell his wife that he's alive. But they got him in a cruiser and they're driving him around to view different guys that are found out there. Hey, we found this guy. Is that him? So they drive John out, and John would say, no, that's not him. So after a couple of hours of that, the chief said, John, you need to go to the hospital because that's just protocol when you're in a gunfight. You need to go to the hospital and get fully checked out. Because there's been guys that have been shot and they have so much adrenaline, they don't even know they're shot. Anyway, he said, I'm not going to the hospital until I can go home and talk to my wife. So he finally got to his house and he ended up waking up his wife. She had no idea what was going on.
Oh, no.
So he woke her up and said, I'm fine. This is what happened. Now I have to go. I have to go to the hospital.
Right.
So then he calls his chief and says, hey, I'll go to the hospital right after I go to church.
Nice.
He's like a super religious guy.
Yeah.
And he had to get to church and pray.
I love it.
Before he went to the hospital. That's what this guy, that's who this guy is, John McClellan. And he gives like thousands and thousands of dollars to charity on an ongoing basis. He's just a wonderful guy. Salt of the earth. He just retired like maybe a year ago.
Wow. I'll have to nag him for the show. He probably won't want to come on.
He's a super friendly guy, but he's kind of a private guy. I don't know. Reach out to him.
Yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, it's funny sometimes. Most people are cool, then they actually even find coming on the show to be kind of cathartic because they get to tell their story and it benefits the listener because it's a lot of people who are thinking about being police or who are pro-police. But some guys just don't. They'll just tell me right up, nah, I'm good. I know they have crazy stories because I've heard them, and they're like, and one guy actually told me those stories are for us. I don't really want to. I said, I respect that. I said,
I do too. I do too.
But I don't want to argue with them. But really, I mean, those stories are taking them to the grave to me is a shame because, they really do inspire people. And people who hear the podcast and we're thinking about law enforcement, you guys really do inspire them. It's like the next line to fill in your spot. Like we're not doing the best with recruitment. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, we need these new guys. My department just came up with 4 new guys. They just hit the street, and God bless them. We need them.
How are their numbers over there? Are they doing okay? Keeping up to staff?
I think they're right around where they should be. And speaking of that, I just heard Minneapolis PD. They're supposed to be almost 900. They've got about 250 right now.
Oh my gosh. They're going to get the National Guard whether they want it or not. Policing over there. Wow.
Yeah. They're being forced to work overtime every single day. It's not, I can't imagine working under those conditions.
Yep. Same as LA. When I was a background investigator there trying to get cops on board, they were pushing to us. We have the Olympics coming up. We want to be over 10,000 by the time they're here, but the attrition there is huge. It's 10,000 officers, but there's 400 a month, 500 a month leaving. So right now they're at like 8. So the Olympics aren't here yet. They're 2,000 below their normal full cadre, and their goal was to be over. It's just ain't going to happen. Like they're not going to have the manpower.
They're going to have mutual aid from even different states.
Oh, they're going to pay out the nose. Yeah, they're going to pay big time to do the Olympics. Hopefully the city makes enough revenue from the Olympics to make it all worth it. But,
I don't know. We had, one year we had the Democratic National Convention in Boston, and I worked that entire week, and it was awful. The restaurants were empty because everyone was afraid to go in there. They thought it was going to be a madhouse. And everyone stayed out of the city.
That's weird.
It was a bust. Yeah. It was terrible for the city.
Yeah.
The businesses hated it.
Yeah. No kidding. Jim.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on again, brother. It was a friggin' blast.
My pleasure, brother.
The insight was so cool. Here you are. I've been reading about you just for fun and all. You've done a lot of different shows, dude. I can't believe you've been on TV so many times doing these competitive they're not game shows, they're like reality TV, kind of like reality TV game shows. And, it's fun to watch, man. You're like in the circuit.
Really physical stuff. All my shows have been super physical.
Yeah.
Like almost killing me physical.
Yeah. They're fun.
I loved it.
They're fun to watch. So go follow Jim on X. You probably have over 10,000 by now. I think I took a screenshot.
Yeah, I got 10,000.
Nice. That's healthy. Good deal, brother. Go give him a follow. If you want to reach out to him, write him something. You could do it there, or if you want, that you could write it to me and I could send it along to Jim. Sometimes I filter people for guests. I have had like directors and producers be like, "Hey, we're working on this case, or we're working on something for this, and you interviewed so and so. Can you give us his contact info?" And just so you know, I never just go, yes, I will reach out to you and say, let me ask Jim, and then go from there. But
thank you.
People
Appreciate
do reach
that.
out. Yeah, of course, man. So, brother, honored to have you. I got to do the outro to the show. Can you hang on for like 2 minutes?
I can.
All right, sir. The great Jim Vaglica. Man, really interesting to hear the behind the scenes stuff with the Boston bombing. What a terrible and crazy event, man. This is the time in the show when I thank the Patreon sponsors, and let me pull them up. If you really love the show and you want to show your support, keep the lights on over here. The link is in the show notes to support through the Patreon. If you choose sergeant level or above, you will get a shout out on the show. Who I'm talking about is lieutenant level, the great and powerful Andy Biggs, Kyle Roberts, thank you. Michael Roach Machines, God bless you, thank you. Now to the sergeants, the handsome Lane Campbell, thank you, sir. The great Gary Steiner, Adam Mihal, everybody, thank you, Adam. Seth Wright, everybody, thank you, Seth. The great Lauren Stimson, the great Jason Lau, everybody. Sasha McNabb, none other than the great Sasha McNabb, thank you, man. Sean Clifford, Tammy Walsh, holding it down at dispatch. Thank you, Tammy. George Chessier, love you, buddy. See you at church. Dennis Carrasquillo, my man. Thank you. Scott Young, Dan Carlson from Burley Boards, amazing woodworker. Check him out on Instagram. Doug and Kelly Newman, thank you guys. Love you. Hope you're enjoying Wyoming. Raymond Arsenal, I love you, buddy. Thank you. Richard Tolles, keep on trucking. The great Elliot Sykes, thank you, Elliot. Brad Thompson, my main man, Brad, thank you. Clark LeCuff, thank you. Adam McMahon, Sheriff Ronald Long, thank you. Zachary Pleat, the great Jason Labrie. Lisa Gano, thank you. Lisa Sherry Finch, thank you, Madame. Gabriel Decknop, I appreciate you, sir. Eric Smith, my man. Jackson Dalton, Black Box Safety, check them out. Thank you, sir. K9 Extraordinaire, Marcus Johansson. Love you, buddy. Thank you. Brett Lee, everybody, and the great and powerful Alex Wasick. Guys, thank you for all the support and clicking the link to join the Patreon. Like I've said before, when I see someone is signed up for Patreon, it pretty much makes my whole day. I really, really love to see it, and I appreciate it. But rest assured, the show will remain free. The interviews will remain free so everybody can hear the men and women of law enforcement tell their stories as they live them to gain a better appreciation for what it is that they actually do. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.